Hello everyone and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. We're holding a Mishnah Berurah Chelik Gimel, and Mirz Hashem today we will be learning Daf Ayin Aleph Amid Beis. We are continuing to learn Hilchos Shabbos. We pick up today on Ayin Aleph Amid Aleph, 2 lines off the bottom, Siman Reish Tzadik Vav Sif Gimel. Our learning should be a schus for Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael, Hanasunim Batzarhu Bashivya, Ha'imdim Bein Bayamu Bein Bayabasha, Hamakayim Yerachem Aleihem, V'yitziam Yitzar L'Rvacha Me'afela L'Oira U'Mishiba L'Geula Hashta B'Gala U'Vizman Kariv V'Neimar Amen. Our learning, sorry about that. Our learning should be a schus Refuah Shalema for Yitzchak Baruch ben Rachel Shalva, for Tzvi ben Leah Miriam, for Chava Hadassah bas Rezel Serel. Our learning should also be a schus for Yisrael ben Rachel, Yonasan ben Michal, Yoel ben Michal. The Rebbeinu Shalom should watch over them together with all of our other brothers and sisters who find themselves in harm's way, b'chol makom shehem. Okay, so we're continuing to learn the halachas of Havdalah over here. A little bit later in this year, we are actually going to get into the nitty-gritty of Havdalah, precisely how do you make Havdalah, but that's later in this year. Right now, we're going to pick up in Sif Gimel. There are 2 halachas of Havdalah that we learned previously. One is that you're not allowed to eat before you make Havdalah. So the same way when Shabbos comes in, you're not allowed to eat before you make Havdalah, so too when Shabbos is on the way out, we don't eat until we make Havdalah. What we brought down earlier is that by doing so, what we're doing is we're bracketing off Shabbos. We're showing when Shabbos comes in, we don't eat until we make Kiddush. Where we Bekadesh Shabbos, when we sanctify Shabbos and declare Shabbos, now we eat L'chvoid Shabbos. So too on the way out. Until now, we were eating, we ate 3 Seudos. Those were all L'chvoid Shabbos. Now Shabbos is leaving, we're going into the weekday. We don't start eating weekday food and weekday meals until we first close off Shabbos with Havdalah. So that's one halacha. We don't eat before Havdalah. Another halacha is, what kind of beverage do we require to make Havdalah over? We need yayin, or in the absence of yayin, we need a chamar medina. We need something which is considered an ikar beverage, the main beverage of the locale that we live in. So now the Mechaber is going to discuss a case. What do you do if you're unable to make Havdalah? Why? You don't have yayin, and you don't have chamar medina. Now what do you do as far as eating? So what now? You can't eat? Until when? So let's see the Mechaber here, Sif Gimel. Im ein lo yayin, if somebody does not have wine, v'lo sheichar, nor does he have beer, u'sha'ar mashkin, nor does he have any other beverage that rates as chamar medina. Let's just take a quick detour here into the Mishnah Berurah Zayin. V'lo sheichar, he doesn't have beer. V'hu hadinim yesh lo sheichar, or maybe he has beer, elo she'ena chamar medina. But beer in his locale is not considered a chamar medina. So basically we have a case over here where a person is unable to make Havdalah. He has no wine, he has no other beverage that qualifies as chamar medina. Says the Mechaber, the bottom line here on Ayin Aleph Amid Aleph. Here we have a machlokes. Yesh Oimrim, there are those that say shemuter loy lechol, that he's allowed to eat. He doesn't have the ability to make Havdalah. We're not going to tell him, sorry Charlie, you can't make Havdalah, you can't eat. No, you don't have the ability to eat, to make Havdalah, you're allowed to eat. That's the first opinion. V'yesh Oimrim, but there are those that say that it depends. She'im mitzape sheyia loy lamachar. It's very nice that he doesn't have yayin or chamar medina now on Motzei Shabbos. But let's say he has a reasonable expectation that he is going to have yayin or another chamar medina tomorrow. So there's a yesh oimim that says she'em mitzape sheyeh lo lamachar. If he has a reasonable expectation that he is going to have yayin or chamar medina tomorrow, then lo yochal ad lamachar sheyavdil. Then he should refrain from eating on Motzei Shabbos. He should wait until Sunday morning. Sunday morning, he'll get his chamar medina, he'll make Havdalah, and he'll eat a good breakfast on Sunday morning. So again, we have over here a basic shaila. Somebody doesn't have the ability to make Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos because he has no yayin or another chamar medina. Is he allowed to eat or not? The Dei Rishona says yes, he's allowed to eat. The Dei Shniya says it depends. If he has an expectation that he'll have yayin or chamar medina Sunday morning, so then he shouldn't eat Motzi Shabbos. He should wait till Sunday morning. He should make a Havdalah Sunday morning, and he should eat after Havdalah. Says the Mishnah Berurah back on Ayin Aleph, Amud Aleph, Mishnah Berurah is cutting Yud Zayin. Shamutalai, the day Rishonah says he's allowed to eat. Nevertheless, it's true that this person is unable to make Havdalah al Hakais because he doesn't have Yayin or Chamar Medina, but that doesn't impinge his ability to daven Ma'ariv and to say Havdalah Atachan Antanu in Tefillah. So certainly, even though he's not going to be able to make Havdalah al Hakais, before he's going to eat, he has to be Yoitze his Chiyav of Havdalah by davening Shemona Esrei and saying Atachan Antanu. V'aval Pikein, now, even though he's going to be Mavdil B'Tefillah, V'aval Pikein Kitchayasik L'Machar Kais, still, tomorrow, Sunday, when he gets a kais of yayin or chamar medina, chayav lahavdil kedin, he's still going to have to make Havdalah al hakais. Ukidla kaman b'simin reish sadik tes sivav. V'yesha writes him loymar. Chafetz Chaim brings down that there were those who wanted to answer this shaila of what do? You can't make Havdalah. You're allowed to eat. Sheyomer atta birkas hamavda b'loy kais. There are those that wanted to say, all right, you don't have the ability to make Havdalah al hakais because you don't have Yayin or Chamar Medina. All right, you know what you should do? You should sit down and you should make the bracha of Hamavda B'Kodesh L'Chayil without a kais. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ve'ein L'Horos Kain. He brings down for the Pri Megadim, he says that this is not a valid psak. You should not paskin this way. Ois Katan Yud Ches in the Mishnah Berurah. So the day Rishonah says you're unable to make Havdalah because you don't have Yayin or Chamar Medina. Mutter loy lechel. You're allowed to eat on Motzi Shabbos. Now, there is a little bit of a problem with this from a Gemara in Psachim. The Gemara in Psachim says that this actual shaila happened to Ameimar. Ameimar, an Amora. Ameimar was someplace on Motzi Shabbos. He didn't have Yayin or Chamar Medina, and the Gemara brings down that he fasted on Motzi Shabbos. He waited till Sunday morning, he made Havdalah Sunday morning, and then he ate. So what does this day of Rishonah do with this Gemara of Ameimar in Psachim? Says the Mishnah Berurah Kat Yud Ches, V'had Arbina b'Gemara, this that the Gemara says in Psachim Adaf Kov Zayin, that Ameimar ikla la'asra v'loy hoya loy amal havdil, that Ameimar was in a certain place, and Motzi Shabbos he didn't have any kais to make Havdalah over, and therefore v'lon b'tainis ad lamachar, and therefore he fasted the entire Motzi Shabbos and he didn't eat until Sunday morning after he made Havdalah. Svira lo l'day azu, this day Rishonah and the Mechaber holds that the makbar latzmai hoya, that Ameimar was just doing a chumrah. Really, me'ikar adin, he was allowed to eat. He was being makbar on himself not to eat until Sunday morning after Havdalah. Ois Katan Yud Tes, then we had the day of Shnia. The second opinion brought by the Mechaber says, Sheyia loy lamachar, if somebody has a reasonable expectation that he will have wine or another Chamar Medina to make Havdalah over on Sunday, so then he should refrain from eating on Motzi Shabbos. He should wait till Sunday morning, make Havdalah, and then eat. Now, the Mechaber did not say when this person expects to get wine or another Chamar Medina on Sunday. The words of the Mechaber were, She'im mitzape she'yeh lo l'mocher. If he has a hope that he is going to have Yayin or another Chamar Medina tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow when? What if he expects to get a bottle of wine tomorrow, Sunday, 10 minutes before Shkia, and it's the summer? So he expects that he'll have wine tomorrow night at 20 minutes after 8. So now you're saying that he should fast Motzi Shabbos and he should fast the whole day Sunday until Sunday evening when he gets wine? Says the Mishnah Berurah, no. When the Mechaber says that the day of Shnia holds, if you're going to get wine tomorrow, you should refrain from eating Motzi Shabbos, hainu b'boker. That means that you have an expectation that tomorrow morning, Sunday morning, you're going to get your hands on Yayin or a Chamar Medina. Aval be'erev. But if your expectation is that you're finally going to get Yayin or a Chamar Medina Sunday night, eina mechuyev lahamtin kol kach. Even the day of Shnia would not be so machmer and say that you can't eat Motzi Shabbos and you can't eat the whole day Sunday until Sunday night when you get wine or Chamar Medina. The Efsher, and the Mishnah Berurah says, and he brings this down from the Graz, the Efsher, and it's possible, you're not even mechuyev to wait past midday, past Chatzos on Sunday. So yes, if the day of Shnia is machmer, the day of Shnia holds, if you have an expectation that you'll have yayin Sunday morning, or you'll have some nice fresh brewed coffee Sunday morning, so you'll have a chamar medina, so then don't eat Motzei Shabbos. Wait till Sunday morning, make Havdalah over your yayin or your coffee, and then eat a good breakfast after that. Even lunch, if you have an expectation you'll get wine or coffee or a chamar medina tomorrow at 11:30, so yeah, wait until then make Havdalah and then eat a nice brunch. But if you're not going to have yayin or a chamar medina until Sunday night, you're not mechuyev to wait until Sunday night. Now, Ois Katan Chaf. The Mishnah Berurah says a very interesting halacha according to this day shniya that's more machmir. Says the Mishnah Berurah Katan Chaf, lo yoichal. If you know that you're going to have yayin or chamar medina Sunday morning, you shouldn't eat on Motzei Shabbos. Says the Mishnah Berurah, this holds true. Va'afilu b'Motzei Shabbos liyom tov gam kein lo yoichal im ein lo kois. According to this opinion, let's say Motzei Shabbos is Yom Tov. So Motzei Shabbos is the first day Sukkot. So you're supposed to have your Suda. Motzei Shabbos, you're supposed to have your Yom Tov Suda. But you don't have yayin, you don't have a chamar medina to make Havdalah over. The day Shniya says, if you can't make Havdalah Motzei Shabbos, and you have an expectation that you'll have yayin or chamar medina Sunday morning, you don't eat until Sunday morning after you make Havdalah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, this would be true even if Motzei Shabbos happens to be Yom Tov. Now, the Mishnah Berurah adds in a knech, umayri, but the only time that could possibly be true, the only time this halacha could hold true is b'she'ein loy pas gamkein. It has to be a really extreme situation. It has to be you have no yayin, you have no other chamar medina, you also don't have challah. Why? Dem yesh loy pas, because if you have challah for your Yom Tov Suda on Motzei Shabbos, halo yechriya Ramah le'el b'Sif Beis, we learned earlier in the Ramah in Sif Beis, to yachal Havdalah ala pas. Even though normally the halacha is ein mavdilin ala pas, that you don't make Havdalah over bread, but we learned that if you're doing yak nahaz, if Motzei Shabbos is Yom Tov, and you're inserting Havdalah, the bracha of Hamavdal B'Kodesh L'Chol, within Kiddush, then the same way you're allowed to make Kiddush ala pas, you're also allowed to make Havdalah ala pas. So if it's Motzei Shabbos and it happens to be Yom Tov, you don't have yayin, you don't have chamar medina, but you have pas, you could still eat, because you'll make Kiddush ala pas and you'll make Havdalah ala pas. But if you have no yayin, no chamar medina, and no pas, then the day shniya here in the Mechaber would be very machmir, and would say that even though it's Yom Tov, you can't eat until tomorrow morning. Ois Katan Chaf Aleph ad lebachar sheyavdal, until Sunday morning after you make Havdalah. And the Mishnah Berurah is machriya. The Mishnah Berurah rules v'yesh lahachmir kisvara achroina hazu. We should be machmir like this second opinion in the Mechaber, that if you don't have the ability to make Havdalah Motzei Shabbos because you have no yayin or chamar medina, but you have a hope that you will have Sunday morning, then you taka shouldn't eat until Sunday morning after you make Havdalah. Im loy ba'adam chalash, unless you're dealing with a weak person, shekasha layatainis, for whom the fasting would be very difficult, then yachal ismaich ader rishayna, such a person would be able to rely on the first opinion that is mekel. Okay, now let's go back to the top line here in the Shulchan Aruch on Ayin Aleph Amud Beis, and the Mechaber is going to discuss an interesting scenario. He's going to give us a scenario where on Motzei Shabbos we actually need 2 kaisais of yayin. What would that scenario be? Well, earlier when we learned Hilchas Birkas Hamazon, we're all familiar with the concept of Birkas Hamazon al hakais, benching with a kais of yayin. For instance, by a Sheva Brachas, right, we bench on a kais. By a Bris Milah, we bench on a kais. So even though for the most part, most people do not generally bench on a kais, but we're all familiar with the concept of benching on a kais. When we learned Hilchas Birkas Hamazon, we learned that there's actually a machlekes Rishonim. There are those Rishonim that hold that Birkas Hamazon tu'una kais, that benching must be recited over a kais. Then we have other Rishonim who disagree, and they say that the kais is optional. Now, says the Mechaber like this: how about, what if, according to the Rishonim that hold Birkas Hamazon tu'una kais, right? According to the Rishonim that hold that Birkas Hamazon requires a kais. Now it's Motzei Shabbos. It's Motzei Shabbos. Maybe it's like nowadays, like the season that we're in right now, it's the winter. So it's an early Motzei Shabbos. You're going to eat a nice malava malka. You intend on washing, having a beautiful malava malka, lighting some neiros, and after your Malava Malka, you're going to have to bench. So you're going to need a kais for your Birkas Hamazon. Now, before you sit down to Malava Malka, you're supposed to make Havdalah, right? You're not allowed to eat before Havdalah. You need a kais for Havdalah. So in this scenario, you need 2 kaises. Problem, you only have one. You only have one kais. What should you do? According to these Rishonim, you have a real shiloh over here, because what are you going to do? Lichatchila, you don't want to eat before Havdalah. Okay, so you're going to take your kais and you're going to make Havdalah. But if you make your kais and you make Havdalah, now you're not going to be able to wash and sit down and eat a Suda from Malava Malka. Why? Because Birkas Hamazon tu'un a kais. Benching requires a kais and you don't have another kais for benching. Okay, so what should you do? Wash, sit down, eat the Suda and eat before Havdalah, and then use the kais at the end of the meal for Havdalah and Birkas Hamazon. So which way should you go? Should you eat before Havdalah and use your one kais for Havdalah and Birkas Hamazon combined? Or maybe not. Maybe you can't sit down and eat now. Maybe you have to use the kais for Havdalah because you're not allowed to eat before Havdalah, and you're going to have to forego your Suda. I guess you'll have to eat tomorrow morning. So which way should you go? Now again, remember, this shaila is only germane according to those Rishonim that hold Birkas Hamazon tu'un a kais. According to the Rishonim that hold Birkas Hamazon ain't tu'un a kais, which is the way we paskin. If Birkas Hamazon doesn't require a kais, then you don't really have a shaila. You'll take your one kais, you'll make Havdalah, and then you'll make Malava Malka, and you'll bench without a kais. Says the Mechaber. Let's say somebody only has available to him one kais of yayin. And he has no expectation that he's going to get a second kais of yayin tomorrow, or another Chamar Medina. Mutav, it would be better, says the Mechaber, he should wash, sit down, eat his Malava Malka before he makes Havdalah, v'yavarik alav Birkas Hamazon, and then after the Suda, bench on this kais of yayin, v'achakach yavdil alav. So you'll bench. After benching, you'll say Havdalah, etc., etc., and your Bari Priyagofen, and you'll combine benching and Havdalah on the one kais that you have. That is better, says the Mechaber. Mimashi yavarich Birkas Hamazon b'loy kais. That would be better than using up your one available kais for Havdalah and then washing and making a Suda and don't bench on a kais. L'divrei ha'omrim, the Birkas Hamazon tu'un a kais. According to the Rishonim, the Birkas Hamazon requires a kais. So better eat before Havdalah and then use your one available kais for a combination of Birkas Hamazon and Havdalah. Better do that than go ahead and make Havdalah and then eat without a kais. Continues the Mechaber, but of course, according to the Rishonim who paskin, the Birkas Hamazon doesn't require a kais, so then lo yochel ad sheyavdil. So don't eat Malava Malka until you use your one kais for Havdalah, and then eat Malava Malka and bench without a kais. Okay, let's take a look here at the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mishnah Berurah Kan Chav Beis. This whole shaila is only negeya, says the Mechaber, ve'enoi mitzapeh, if you have no expectation of getting a kais tomorrow, of getting yayin tomorrow on Sunday. What if you do have an expectation that you're going to have yayin tomorrow? So again, what's the shaila then? The shaila is, it's Motzei Shabbos, you have one kais available to you, you don't want to eat before Havdalah really, so what do you do with the kais? Benching needs a kais. I only have one kais of yayin, but I have an expectation that I'm going to get wine tomorrow. So what should you do? Says the Mishnah Berurah, Aval im kais. If your expectation is that tomorrow you're going to have a kais, so then Yavdil Achshav al kaiseh, Motzei Shabbos, use the one kais that's available to you for Havdalah, and don't eat Malava Malka, don't wash on Malava Malka. You want to eat a Suda with washing? Wait till tomorrow morning, buddy. Kadeshi Yavarach ala kais. So that tomorrow morning you'll be able to bench with a kais. Laman da'amad de Birkas Hamazon tu'un a kais. Miu, Hamagid Avram bereish Siman kuf pei beis chaylik al zeh. Magid Avram disagrees with this idea. What does he disagree with? He disagrees with this idea that because you don't have a kais available to you, you should refrain from washing and having a Suda Motzei Shabbos. Again, what we just said is like this. What's the shaila? It's Motzei Shabbos. I have one kais available to me. I know that another bottle of wine is coming tomorrow. Really, what I want to do is I want to eat a beautiful Malava Malka tonight. I have some fresh baguettes. I want to make some beautiful schnitzel sandwiches. So really, I want to wash and I want to eat a beautiful Malava Malka tonight. Problem is, I only have one kais available. If I wash, I'm going to need two kaises. One for Havdalah, one for Birkas Hamazon. What should I do? We're saying now, depends. If you have no expectation that you're going to get more wine tomorrow morning, so then the Mechaber says, all right, what are you going to do? You're stuck. Sit down, wash, eat before Havdalah, and then after Havdalah, combine benching and Havdalah on the one kais that you have. But if you have an expectation that you're going to have wine tomorrow, then don't eat before Havdalah. Then use your one kais for Havdalah and don't wash. Eat tomorrow. Says the Magen Avram, I don't agree with that. Why? Because the Magen Avram reasons like this. Let's think about this halacha very technically and in a very linear fashion. You have one kais available to you. All right. You're not allowed to eat before Havdalah. Okay. Take the kais and make Havdalah. Now you want to wash and you want to have your schnitzel sandwich from Malava Malka. What are you worrying about? You're worrying, but what am I going to do? If we paskin like the Rishonim that hold Birkas Hamazon to una kais, if I wash now on my schnitzel sandwich, how am I going to bench without a kais? Says the Magen Avram, you're not mechuyev to think like that. Right now, when you wash on your schnitzel sandwich, do you need a kais? Do you need a kais for the tilas yadayim? Do you need a kais for amoitzi lechem and aretz? No. So wash, make the tilas yadayim, pick up your schnitzel sandwich, make hamoitzi, enjoy your schnitzel sandwich, sing all of Yom Malava Malka's miras, eat dessert, and now at the end of Yom Malava Malka, oh, now I want a bench. Oh, I don't have a kais. Maybe we paskin like the shittas that hold because Hamazon tuna kais. I don't have a kais. What should I do? No one is going to tell you that you shouldn't bench because you don't have a kais. So go ahead and bench without a kais. In other words, what the Magen Avram says is, I disagree with this notion that I have to refrain from washing and making a moitzi and eating a suda because when it comes time to bench, I'm not going to have a kais. No, you deal with that shaila when you get there. Cross that bridge when you reach it. So when you reach that shaila at the end of your suda, the psak, the answer to your question is very obvious. Nobody on this earth is going to paskin to you, oh, refrain from benching, which is a chiyuv daraisa, refrain from benching because you don't have a kais. No, you're right. Birkas Hamazon to una kais. If you have a kais. If you don't have a kais, then you bench without a kais. I'm not mechuyev to entertain that shaila when I sit down to wash. That's what the Mishnah Berurah is saying here from the Magen Avram. Miu Magen Avram Berei Siman Kuf Pei Beis Cholik Al Zeh. He disagrees with this idea that if you know that wine is coming Sunday morning, use the one kais that's available to you Matzah Shabbos for Havdalah, and then refrain from washing from Malava Malka because Birkas Hamazon tuna kais. No, the bishvil kais Birkas Hamazon shelo yeloi ain't a mechuyev limnai atzmai milechel. The Magen Avram says the fact that I'm not going to have a kais at the end of my suda to bench on, that doesn't require me to refrain from washing and eating a suda. I don't have to cross that bridge now. Okay. Continues the Mechaber, and the Mechaber just brings down another technical point. If you go 4 lines down near the beginning of the line, says the Mechaber, this whole shaila is only germane. In order to have this shaila, that you only have one kais available to you, and you're not sure how to comport yourself. What do I do? According to the Rishonim, that Birkas Hamazon tuna kais, I might need 2 kaises of yayin. Says the Mechaber, realize that you're only going to get into this shaila if you have a kais of yayin that's a revius b'tzimtzum. You have exactly a revius. Ukvar hayamazon kedinoi, and it's already diluted as much as it could possibly be diluted. Shem hayamesa b'mayim yoser, so that if you would add any more water to this kais, loy hayaroi l'shtia, it's no longer roi for shtia as a bar priagafet. It's no longer considered wine. That's the only time the shaila is going to be negeh. Shem loiked, because if that is not the facts on the ground, if you have, let's say you have a kais that holds 6 ounces, so you have a lot more than a revius. Let's say it's yayin that's not diluted yet. Well, then you can add water to it. So then, l'divrei hakol mavdil tchila. So then what's the problem? make Havdalah on the kais, v'shoisa mimenu ma'at, drink the absolute minimum from the kais for Havdalah, which is a maloi lugmav, a roiv revius, u'moisav alav lashlim l'revius, and then dilute it with more wine, so that you make a new revius for Birkas Hamazon, u'mavarach alav Birkas Hamazon. So this whole shaila, says the Mechaber, it's not l'chayra. This shaila should not come up very often. Says the Mishnah Berurah Kan Chav Gimel, v'shoisa mimenu ma'at. The Mechaber said, you'll drink a little bit. What does that mean? It means the absolute minimum to be Yaitz Havdalah. Hainu kamaloi lugmav. It means you'll drink a maloi lugmav, a cheekful. And then you'll dilute it more with water to create a second kais for Birkas Hamazon. Okay, that was a little bit of a complex sif. Hope it was explained well. I hope everybody was able to follow. Let's go weiter. Sif Daled. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down in the Mechaber, end of the line. So again, we know that for Havdalah you need yayin or another chamar medina. Says the Mechaber, Mi she'ein yadai maseges liknois yayin likiddush ula Havdalah. Somebody has very scant financial resources. He could buy enough wine for one, either for Kiddush or for Havdalah. Kiddush Friday night, which, remember, Daraisa, Zakaris Yom Shabbos L'Kadshay. So he has enough. He could buy wine for Kiddush Friday night, or he could buy wine for Havdalah, but he can't do both. Says the Mechaber, this is really a very easy shaila to answer. If he doesn't have the financial resources to purchase wine for both Kiddush and Havdalah, Havdalah. He should buy yain for Havdalah. Why, says the Mechaber? Very simple. Mishum de Kiddush efshar b'pas. Don't make Kiddush on wine Friday night. B'mekadosh ala pas. Say Kiddush over your challah, which is not an option for Havdalah, because ein mavdilan ala pas. Says the Mishnah Berurah Kan Chafei. Yiknel Havdalah. Din zeh muva gam ken le'el b'simin reish ayin al sif yud aleph derech agav. Really, if we pay attention to what we learned in Hilchas Kiddush, reish ayin al sif yud aleph, we will see that this halacha comes across over there as well. V'ayin sham b'Mishnah Berurah sif katan nun vav, where he brings down that there are those that hold that making Kiddush al hapas Friday night is not really soleh chatchila if you do have wine available to you. So there are those that hold, if you bought one kais of yayin for Shabbos and it's available to you Friday night, don't save it for Havdalah, but we're not machriya that way. We're machriya that you should make Havdalah al hapas. Okay, turning to Sif Hey. 7 lines down, beginning of the line, says the Mechaber. Imein yodai maseges, in yonah diyayim mamish, imein yodai maseges liknoi shemen l'ner Chanukah v'yayin lahavdalah. Let's say somebody does not have enough financial resources to be able to buy oil for his Chanukah licht and wine for Havdalah. Which one comes first? Says the Mechaber, ner Chanukah koidem. The oil for the ner Chanukah would come before the yayin for Havdalah. Says the Mishnah Berurah Kan Chavav, ner Chanukah koidem. Why? Mishum te persume nisa adif. Because publicizing a nace, the mitzvah of ner Chanukah, which is to publicize the nace that the Rebbeinu Shalom did for Klal Yisrael, that's a mitzvah b'tzibur. That's a very public mitzvah. That takes precedence over Havdalah. V'oid. And then there's another very basic reason. The Irka mitzvah Havdalah nucha l'kayim b'tfilah. Because let's realize, if you're asking me to give preference either to Chanukah licht or to Havdalah al hakais, so then I'm going to tell you, give precedence to Chanukah licht. Why? Because Havdalah, you're gonna be yoytze your ikar chiyuv of Havdalah by making Havdalah in Shemona Esrei. You're gonna say Atachanan Tanu. So it's not use your money for Ner Chanukah and cross off Havdalah. You're not gonna have any Havdalah. No, you will have Havdalah. You'll daven Amar Shemona Esrei. You'll say Atachanan Tanu. Okay. Now finally, let's turn here to Sif Vav, where things get very, very interesting. So let's just give a little bit of a hakdama to Sif Vav. Just a few concepts that you have to bear in mind to understand Sif Vav. Let's remember that when we learned Hilchas Brachas, we learned the halacha that when you make a bracha over something, you're supposed to hold it in your right hand. So if you're making a shahakal on a mug of coffee, you're supposed to hold the coffee in your right hand when you make the bracha. Why? So first of all, we want you to hold what you're making the bracha over, so that your kavana should be, your intent, should be that the bracha is going on this coffee that I want to drink. We want you to hold it in your right hand because we want to give chashivus to the bracha. Your right hand is more chashiv than your left hand. So we want you to hold it, and we want you to hold it in your right hand. Another reason we want you to hold it, by the way, is to be memayet de hefsik. We want to lessen the interruption between the recitation of the bracha and the drinking. We don't want it to be that the coffee is sitting on your desk, you make a shahakal, and now after you finish the shahakal, you first have to pick up the coffee. No, we want you already holding the coffee, so as soon as you finish the shahakal, you can take a drink. See, audio-visual presentation. So that's one concept. Another concept is that Havdalah has to be made al hakois. Havdalah is made over a kois. That's another concept that you have to remember going into Sivhav. And then a third concept that's going to come across in a more minor way is the concept of ein mavirin al hamitzvahs. We don't pass over a mitzvah. So the most common example of ein mavirin al hamitzvahs that I like to give for men is that you have your talis bag. Most men have in their talis bag, they have a small tefillin zekel, they have a small tefillin bag that holds their tefillin, and they also have their talis. Now, when we come to davening in the morning, we put on our talis before we put on our tefillin. Therefore, we learned the halacha earlier that if you do this, if you have your tefillin and your talis in the same bag, you're supposed to have them positioned in the bag so that when you open up the bag, your hands first come to the talis. Because let's say you did it the other way. Let's say you put in your talis at the bottom of the bag, and then you put your tefillin closer to the front of the bag. Well, then when you open up the bag in the morning to put on your talis, what's going to happen? You're going to have to pass over the tefillin. You're going to pass over the tefillin in order to take out the talis to put on the talis. So you're passing over a mitzvah. You're passing by the tefillin and ignoring them, so to speak, in order to go get the talis and put on the talis. So in order to avoid that, and in order to fulfill the concept of ein mavir in ala mitzvahs, we do not pass by mitzvahs. We make sure that the first thing you're going to encounter is the talis, and you put on the talis. Now, against that backdrop, having these three concepts in mind, let's analyze Havdalah. Now let's remember, Havdalah consists of 4 brachas. You have a bar priagafen. That's the first bracha that you're going to make, which is a birchas hanenin al hayayin. You're making your bracha rishayna on the wine that you're going to drink and have benefit from. So that's bracha number 1. Bracha number 2 is going to be bare mine besamim, that you make on smelling the besamim. Bracha number 3 is going to be bare ma'orei ha'esh, the bracha that you make on enjoying the light of the flame. Bracha number 4 finally is going to be Havdalah. How do you handle all of this as far as what you should hold when and in which hand, etc., etc.? Now, the Mechaber is going to refer to Hadassim, the Hadas. The Hadas, in the world of the Mechaber, that's the Besamim. We know that Hadassim have a pleasant smell. That's what they used for Besamim, says the Mechaber. Omer Havdalah miyushav. First of all, you should say Havdalah while sitting down. Okay, we'll get to that. Says the Ramah Haga, however, there are those that say that you should say Havdalah standing. And it's very widespread in Klal Yisrael, these 2 different minhagim. Some make Havdalah sitting, some make Havdalah standing. In the Mishnah Berurah, we'll see what the rationale is for both. Says the Ramah, the Ramah says that in our regions, the minhag is to make Havdalah standing. Having said that, again, it's very widespread, different minhagim to make Havdalah sitting or standing. Okay, let's take a quick look at the Mishnah Berurah. Ois Kalachav Zayin says the Mishnah Berurah Miyushav. The Mechaber said you should make Havdalah while sitting. Mayri kishamaytzi la'acherim yidei chayvasan. This that the Mechaber paskins, that it's better to make Havdalah sitting. That's specifically when you are making Havdalah and you're being mitzi other people. Then it's important that everybody should be sitting. Why? Since one person is making a bracha and he's being mitzi other people, you need an assemblage. Everybody has to be in a formal assembly, so to speak, together, so that I'm making the bracha and you're being yotze with the bracha. If everybody is standing around, that's not a kviyus. That's not a group of people assembled together. That's people standing around. For formality, you sit down together. The Yesharim brought by the Ramah that says, no, better you should make Havdalah standing. He holds, the Kevichu Halavayas HaMelech, when we make Havdalah, we're escorting out Shabbos HaMalka, right? Malav HaMalka. So we're escorting out the queen. Ein Malavin El Muhammad. When you escort somebody, you're standing. You're not sitting. Ulin Yanakfius. What does the Ramah do with the Mechaber's requirement? That you have to have a formal assembly. Sagi kishavizamdan akel va'imdin mechavdin k'delot says. You have an assembly. What do you do when you make Havdalah? Rabbi say, let's get together, we're making Havdalah. And you assemble everybody together, and everybody has intent to pay attention to Havdalah. That's enough of a kviyus. Usvirlu, they hold, the mitoyshe kaven atzman k'delot says yidei berchas Havdalah. Once they're assembling together for the purpose of making Havdalah, so you had a kviyus for Havdalah, mahani nami kviyus zu lotzes berberkas hayayin. That kviyus would also serve so that it was considered a kviyus for the bracha of Hagofen, and if one of the assembled wants to drink from the kosher bracha of Havdalah, they would be able to, because they were yoytze with the berchas hanenin of Borei Pri Hagofen. The Ramah said again to make Havdalah while standing. Says the Mishnah Berurah, there's an exception to this, which is v'yak nahaz. When we make Havdalah Motzi Shabbos, when Motzi Shabbos is Yom Tov, and we recite the Kiddush, and we insert Havdalah into Kiddush, so we do Yak Nahaz, Yain Kiddush Ner Havdalah Zman, which is Shechiyanu, L'kulei Alma Tov Levarach B'Yushav, even the Ramah would agree that should be done while sitting, Kamay B'Shar Kiddush L'El B'Siman Reish Ayin Aleph Sif Yud B'Hagah, where the Ramah said that Kiddush should always be recited while sitting. Okay, now we're going to start getting into the Shaila of what you should hold, when, in which hand, etc., etc. Let's go into the Shulchan Aruch, 3 lines off the bottom. Says the Mechaber. So how do you make Havdalah? Says the Mechaber, V'oiches hayayin biyamin. You should hold the kais of wine in your right hand. Now that's going to be very easy to understand, because the first bracha that you're going to make is Borei Pri Hagofen. When you make the bracha Rishona on the wine, the Borei Pri Hagofen, we want you to be holding the wine in your right hand. Thus, says the Mechaber, V'oiches hayayin biyamin. You should hold the wine in your right hand. Let's go right away to Mishnah Berurah's Katan Chavtes. V'oiches hayayin biyamin. You should hold the wine in your right hand. Tekain b'chol davar shemavarach alav. Because whenever you make a bracha Rishona over something, tzarich la'achsai biyaminoi b'shas habracha. Not only a berachas hanenin, when you make the bracha on Netilas Lulav. So you hold the Lulav in your right hand, because that's the bundle of 3 of the Daled Minim. The Esrog is only 1. So you hold the Lulav in the right hand. Whenever you make a bracha on something, you hold it in your right hand, b'shas habracha. Ukedal el b'siman reish vav siv daled. Okay, so far we're good. Let's go back into the Mechaber. V'oiches hayayin biyamin. You should hold the wine in your right hand. Now the Mechaber says a fascinating thing. V'hahadas bismoil. And you should be holding the besamim in your left hand. So the Mechaber says something very fascinating over here, which the Mishnah Berurah does not comment on. And that is, from the Mechaber, it sounds like, when you sit down to make Havdalah, at the outset of Havdalah, you should be holding the kais in your right hand. Okay, perfectly understood. Borei Pri Hagofen, you have to be holding it in your right hand. And you should be holding the besamim in your left hand. Why? You didn't make a Borei Mina besamim yet. Why are you holding the besamim in your left hand? Now, like I said, the Mishnah Berurah doesn't comment on this, but I found a very interesting Piskei Tshuvas who does comment on it. Piskei Tshuvas says a fascinating thing, and that's why I mentioned at the outset of this the concept of Ein Mavirin al HaMitzvahs. Piskei Tshuvas says like this: you're going to make a Borei Pri Hagofen. Fine, the wine is in your right hand. Now you got to make a Borei Mine Besamim. Now, Ein Mavirin al HaMitzvahs. What are the 2 brachas that you have to make right now? You have to make a Borei Mine Besamim on the Besamim, and then the next bracha that you're going to have to make is a Borei Ma'orei Ha'esh. What's the Borei Ma'orei Ha'esh made on? It's not made on the candle. It's not made on the flame. It's made on the light. The bracha of Borei Ma'orei Ha'esh is a bracha. It's a Birchas HaShevach. It's a bracha of praise to the Ribbono Shel Olam, where we're thanking the Ribbono Shel Olam for the creation, basically, of artificial light. The Rebbeinu Shalom gave us the ability to make a fire and make light. So we're making a bracha on the light. Once we understand the Borei Meirei Eish that way, let me ask you a question. You made the Borei Priagofen. Now you have two brachas in front of you. You got to make a bracha on the besamim. Now let's say the besamim is sitting in a container on the table. You have a beautiful silver besamim box. It's sitting on the table. I got to make now a Borei Mina besamim, and I also have to make a Borei Meirei Ha'esh. Which one is closer to me? Really, the light is closer to you. The light being cast by the flame of Havdalah is hitting you right in the face. So, ein mavirin ala mitzvahs, l'chayra would require you to make the Borei Meirei Ha'esh first. But the halakha is that we're supposed to make the Borei Mina besamim first. But how do we do that? Ein mavirin ala mitzvahs. Says the Piskei Teshuvos, that's why the Mechaber says that when you set out to make Havdalah, you should be holding the besamim in your left hand. You know why? Because since you're holding the besamim, when it comes time to make the besamim, there's no shaila of ein mavirin ala mitzvahs due to the light. Because it's true that the light is hitting you in the face, but you're actually holding the besamim, and therefore you can make the Borei Mina besamim before you make the Borei Meirei Eish. That's how the Piskei Teshuvos explains this Mechaber. Now, I've never seen people do this. Maybe people do. I personally have never seen somebody begin Havdalah holding the besamim in the left hand and the kais in the right hand. But that's the Mechaber, and that's the way the Piskei Teshuvos explains this Mechaber. Okay, so the Mechaber said, V'oiches hayayin b'yamin, you're holding the wine in your right hand. V'ahadas b'smoil, you're holding the besamim in your left hand. Umevarech al hayayin, and the first bracha you're going to make is the Borei Priagofen on the yayin. Now what? Now it's time for the Borei Mina besamim. Now we said that whatever you're making a bracha on is supposed to be in your right hand. So what do? Says the Mechaber, V'shuv noitel hahadas b'yamin. Now put down the kais and take the hadas, aka the besamim, and hold the besamim in your right hand. And says the Mechaber, v'hayayin b'smoil, and you should hold the kais of yayin in your left hand, u'mevarech ala hadas, and make the bracha on the besamim. So again, what the Mechaber is saying is like this. You started off Havdalah with the kais in your right hand and the besamim in your left hand. You made a Borei Priagofen while the kais was in your right hand. Now it's time to make a Borei Mina besamim. Well, if you're going to make a Borei Mina besamim, now the besamim has to be in your right hand. So you know what you do, says the Mechaber? You make a switcheroo. You put down the kais, you take the besamim that were in your left hand, you put them into the right hand, and now you take the kais in your left hand, and now you make a Borei Mina besamim. Now why is the kais in your left hand? Why do you need to be holding the kais? Let's see the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mishnah Berurah is cut and limud. V'hayayin b'smoil. The Mechaber said you should be holding the kais in your left hand. Ve'ena menicha yaz miyadai. But says the Mishnah Berurah, don't put down the kais and not be holding the kais when you make the Borei Mina besamim. You could put it down in order to do the switcheroo. You could put down the kais from your right hand, take the hadasim, aka the besamim, into your right hand, and then pick up the kais in your left hand. But says the Mishnah Berurah, don't just put down the kais, take the besamim in your right hand and make the bracha on the besamim in your right hand without the kais in your left hand. The Mishnah Berurah takes the Mechaber very literally, and the Mishnah Berurah says you have to be holding the kais in your left hand when you make the bracha of Borei Mina besamim on the besamim that in your right hand. Why? Explains the Mishnah Berurah. Bishum dechala bracha shel Havdalah mitzvah lihiyos ala kais. Because we said at the outset of the shir, all of the brachas of Havdalah have to be made al hakais. And in the world and in the mind of the Chavetz Chaim, the Mishnah Berurah paskins that means you have to be holding the kais when you make the Borei Mina besamim. But you have to be holding it in your left hand, because your right hand needs to be holding the besamim. So paskins the Mishnah Berurah. Okay. Ois cut lamed aleph. Mevarech ala hadas, and now you make the Borei Mina besamim. Then what do? So the Mishnah Berurah the Mechaber does not speak about the Borei Meirei Ha'esh over here. So let's see, I have a few words left in the Mechaber. Let's just finish the Mechaber. The Mechaber said, Umavarach al yayin, v'shuv noita lahadas biyamin. Then you took the hadas, the besamim, in your right hand. V'hayayin b'smoil. You took the kais of yayin in your left hand. Umavarach al hadas, and you made the bracha of barin min besamim on the hadas. Umakser yayin liyaminoi, and then you're going to switch back the kais to your right hand. Says the Mishnah Berurah, cut lamad aleph. Umavarach al hadas. So you made the bracha of barin min besamim. So again, in the world of the Mechaber, according to the Mishnah Berurah, the Besamim were in your right hand, the Kais were in your left hand. You made the Barim in the Besamim, and you smelled the Besamim. Now what do? Says the Mishnah Berurah's Kat Lamed Aleph, Umanichai, after you do the Barim in the Besamim, put down the Besamim, and then Varoya Batziparnayim, then look at your nails, and see the light being reflected by your nails, the light of the Havdalah candle being reflected by your nails. And now you make the Barei Marei Eish. What the Mishnah Berurah is saying is like this. You are holding the kais in your left hand, and you are holding the besamim in your right hand. You made the Barei Mina besamim, you smelled the besamim. Now put down the besamim. Now your right hand is empty. Now point your nails to the fire. Look at the light in your nails, and now make the bracha of Bairei Moirei Ha'esh when looking at the nails of your right hand. Why your right hand? Because now you're making a bracha on the fire. So you should look at the reflection using your right hand. Still keep the kais in your left hand, so that you're making the bracha of Bairei Moirei Ha'esh al HaKais. Now it's very important to notice that the Mishnah Berurah says over here that the way you should do this is you should first look at the light in your nails. V'roya b'tziparnayim. First look at the light in your nails, umavarich bayrei ma'arei ha'esh, and make the bracha of bayrei ma'arei ha'esh. So first look at the light and then make the bracha. V'achakach machzer yayin liyaminai, and then you put the kais back into your right hand, and the goymer Havdalah, and finish Havdalah, make the bracha of Hamavdil Ben Kodesh L'chayil. Now the Aruch HaShulchan takes exception to this Mishnah Berurah. The Aruch HaShulchan says, when you start Havdalah, you need to be holding the kais in your right hand. You don't need to be holding the besamim in your left hand at all. When it's time to make the bracha of Barim Mina besamim, put down the kais, pick up the besamim in your right hand, and make the bracha of Barim Mina besamim on the besamim that are in your right hand, and you don't need to be holding the kais at all. After you make the bracha of Barim Mina besamim, put down the besamim, and now use your right hand, or maybe both hands, and make a Barim Mina Eish, looking at the light in your nails, and again, you do not have to be holding the kais. And then pick up the kais in your right hand and make the bracha of Hamavdil. Reasons the Aruch HaShulchan, the idea that the brachas of Havdalah have to be made ala kais does not require that you're actually holding the kais. As long as the kais is on the table in front of you, that's called al hakais. You don't need to be holding it. And the Aruch HaShulchan says you don't have to keep doing this switcheroo with the kais, moving the kais back and forth between the hands. That's what I was makabel from my Rebbe, from Reuven Feinstein's Al-Zagi Stark. That's what he does it following the Aruch HaShulchan. I believe he told me that's what his father, Rav Moshe Zecher Tzaddik Levracha, did as well. There are also those who take issue with this idea that you should first look at the light in your nails and then make the bracha of Bairei Moirei Ha'esh. Usually we say that first you make a bracha, and then you take the hana from the thing that you made the bracha on. Not vice versa. You don't take the hana and then make the bracha. Now the answer to that question is that this is not berachas hanenin. Bairei Moirei Ha'esh is not making a bracha on enjoying the fire. If it was, you would have to first make the bracha and then enjoy the fire. This is a berachas hashvach. This is a bracha of praise to the Ribbono Shel Olam, thanking him for the creation of light. So reasons the Mishnah Berurah, look at the light and then thank Hashem for it. Others take issue. I think Rav Moshe says that you should first make the bracha and then look at the light, because even though it's true that this is a berachas hashvach, but the Gemara says that you don't make the bracha until you're ready to be nene. Ad sheyayosu min ha'or. It has to be mamish when you're ready to have hana from the fire. So the Rishiva Zatzal says that sounds like, even though this is a berachas hashvach, we're comparing it to berachas hanenin, and therefore you should first make the bracha and then look at the fire. Okay, so that finishes off very fascinating Siv Vav. I know we're going a little over time, but I want to finish the page. Let's do Siv Zayin. A very simple Siman. Sif says the Mechaber 2 lines off the bottom middle of the line. Siv Zayin. Afilu shamu kol b'nei abayis Havdalah bebeis hakneses. Even if the whole family was in shul on Motzei Shabbos, and they made Havdalah in shul, and everybody heard Havdalah in shul, im niskavnu shaloi lotzeis, if they heard Havdalah in shul, but they had intent not to be Yotze with Havdalah. They heard Havdalah. They said Amen. But they were thinking, no, this is not Havdalah. I'm going to make Havdalah when I get home. I'm not being Yotze Havdalah now. Im niskavnu shaloi lotzeis mavdilim babayis. Then you make Havdalah when you get home. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Kat Lam Beis, Kol B'nei Abayis. V'chosh kedim yeshecha b'nei Abayis. Afilu katan shegil l'chidach shel Shama adayin Havdalah. Yuchal lahavdil b'shviloi. Certainly, let's say you and your wife and your two older yeshiva bachurim were in shul together on Motzei Shabbos, maybe after a simcha, a shal shudis sheva brachos, and you heard Havdalah. But you have a 9-year-old boy at home who did not hear Havdalah. So then certainly you could go home and you could make Havdalah to be Moitzi, your 9-year-old kid who's already Higil Chinuch. That would be true even if when you heard Havdalah in shul, you had kavanah to be Yotze Havdalah. So you, the father of the household, you were already Yotze Havdalah. But now you get home and your 9-year-old boy turns to you and says, oh daddy, I didn't have Havdalah yet. You can make Havdalah for him. That's Arevus. Right? Arvus, that you carry a responsibility to be moitzi him in his chiyuv. So you're allowed to make Havdalah to be moitzi him. Later on, in tomorrow's Shemir Hashem, we'll talk about making Havdalah for a woman if you were already Yotze Havdalah. That's not so posh. Stay tuned for tomorrow's share. Gimel. The words of the Mechaber were, if the whole family heard Havdalah in shul, but they had kavanah not to be Yotze Havdalah, then you make Havdalah at home. In this Kam Shalolotzeis, Kasav Lavush, the Lavush writes, nowadays, Mistama, the default position is, Miskaven Kalecha B'mnei Abayi Shalolotzeis Ba'Havdalah, Shem Havdilah B'beis HaKnesses. The default position nowadays is that you did not have kavanah to hear Havdalah in shul. What does this mean? This means, let's say, again, for some reason everybody was in shul, and I don't want to use the example of a Sheva Brachos, because when there's a simcha, and everybody eats shal shudis together, and it drags on, and then they daven Ma'ariv, and then they make Havdalah, so usually somebody says, okay, we're going to make Havdalah, and now everybody gathers around, and they do have kavanah to be Yotze Havdalah. What we're talking about over here is, we know that there's a minig that in shul they make Havdalah. So this is not a Havdalah that was made bedafka for the gathering. You happen to be in shul by Ma'ariv, and after Ma'ariv, the Shamish, the Gabbai, got up and he made Havdalah. Now you're going to walk out and you're going to say, I don't know, did I have kavanah to be Yotze? Did I not have kavanah to be Yotze? Says the Mishnah Berurah, the Lavush says that the default position is that you did not have kavanah to be Yotze. The default mindset of a person is he knows he's going home and making Havdalah. So the default mindset is that you did not have kavanah to be Yotze Havdalah. Vehevelu kalay avdilu klal v'lei nafik ba, and it's as if you didn't have Havdalah at all, you're not Yotze. Now says the Mishnah Berurah, Tamidei Chachamim ein soimchin al Havdalah shebebeis hakneses. Tamidei Chachamim do not rely on the Havdalah that's made in shul. Umavdilin bebeisam, they make Havdalah in their homes. Kedei sheyuchlu lahitzi b'nei beisam, in order to be moitzi everybody in the home. V'chein roy l'chol adam linoig, and this is how you should comport yourself. Let's say you did have kavanah to be Yotze Havdalah. Interesting shaila. You sat down to Havdalah, maybe at home. So the head of the household is making Havdalah. And you sat down with kavanah to be Yotze Havdalah. So somebody would stop you right now, okay? The head of the household is holding the kais. He's about to make Havdalah. Somebody taps you on the shoulder and says, what's your kavanah? What's your mindset now? Oh, I have kavanah to be Yotze Havdalah. Now, at the end of Havdalah, you want to drink the wine. Did you say that I had kavanah to be Yotze with the bracha Rishona of Bar Priagofen? No, you said that you had kavanah to be Yotze Havdalah. Okay, that's the bracha of Hamavdil B'Kodesh Shachar Ben Chayshach Ben Yisrael La'amim Bar Hamavdil B'Kodesh Shachar. So who says you could drink from the wine? Says the Mishnah Berurah over here. Kasav Amagad Avram. Im Niskaven Lotzes Berechas Havdalah. If you had kavanah to be Yaitza Havdalah, Afa Pisha Loy Niskaven Leberechas Priagafen. Even if you did not have distinct kavanah to be Yaitza with the bracha Rishon of Bar Priagafen, Mikol Makom Yatza Yidei Havdalah. You're still Yaitza Havdalah. The Berechas Hamavdil Hu Ha'ikr. You're Yaitza Havdalah. You don't need to have kavanah to be Yaitza with the bracha of Bar Priagafen in order to be Yaitza Havdalah. Ela da'aser litay me'ayayin. But you can't drink the wine. Ela imken yivarach priagafen. You would need to make a bari priagafen in order to drink the wine, because you had no kavanah to be yaitza with the bracha bari priagafen. So that you would have to cover on your own. Okay, thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah. The source of limud HaTorah should be megan against Klal Yisrael. The Rebbe Shem should say, Yeshua Sefuras Panasa Sheduchim Tolos in need. We should be zeichet to see the Bias Gael Tzedek B'mhera v'yameinu. Amen. Be well.